Psycho Killer. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Hello and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, the podcast where Matt and Todd go see a movie at our local Regal Cinema Theater, and then we discuss the movie from the parking lot right after the movie in Matt's Xterra. And sometimes we have a great time doing that. Sometimes it gets really hot. Hopefully it stays cool. I am Todd Domer.
And I'm Matt Malloy, and I'm a little disappointed, Todd, that I didn't get any fa-fa-fa-fa-fa-fa-fa-fa.
I could not remember what else was in that song for the life of me.
Wow.
Yeah. My bad. At least they got to hear you do it.
Yes, at least that. I sang tonight, guys.
There you go.
We're back at the theater to see some of the limited offerings that they have at theaters.
True.
I think we've almost seen every movie that is out at the theater, and we've only seen like 3.
Yeah.
But
it's only going to pick up from here, though, I think.
it's gonna skyrocket from here as COVID goes down, movies go up. Yeah, take that, COVID.
Yeah. Freaking COVID.
So tonight we saw a movie called Spiral from the Book of Saw.
Yes.
This movie is connected to the Saw movie universe, where the Jigsaw Killer sets many traps in many movies that are disgusting and gory, and people have to do something horrible to escape them. So,
yes.
This movie is not exactly about the Jigsaw Killer, although he's referenced many times. This is about a copycat.
Yes.
In this movie. But basically the copycat does the same thing, so you've got the same structure pretty much.
Yes, but this copycat killer, which it's a little frustrating that they don't ever reference the name. Like, they didn't make a name for him. Like, it's not Jigsaw. I guess you would call him maybe Spiral, or you maybe would call them Pigman or something. Like, pigs are used pretty often in this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So,
Pigman or Pigwoman.
right. Well, so there's a couple prominent people in it. Chris Rock is the executive producer of this movie and the main star.
I think he also helped create this story.
I wouldn't doubt that.
Like, if I'm to be correct, this was his baby that he took to this studio and was like, I want to do this off-branch Saw movie.
Sounds right. Sounds like something I've heard. So, Samuel L. Jackson is also in it, playing the role of Chris Rock's character's father. And the captain of the precinct looked familiar to me, but seeing her name, I
don't know either.
I didn't recognize it. So, is there anyone else in it that is notable?
The Tobin Bell is shown pictures of. He was Jigsaw.
Okay.
That's about it. He's not in it, but they show his pictures and reference him, and
Gotcha.
That's about it. Okay. I didn't recognize anyone else in this movie.
Okay, so what is this movie about? Well, Chris Rock's character, whose name is what in the movie?
Zeke?
Zeke.
Ezekiel,
yes.
But he goes by Zeke.
Zeke, short for Ezekiel. Zeke is a cop, and his dad was the old police chief of the precinct that he works at, I guess. But he's retired. And but basically what we've got going on here is Zeke gets a new partner early on in the movie. There's like some mishap, and he gets into some trouble, and his punishment is that he has to have a partner who's a rookie detective.
True.
And so then what happens is different cops from his precinct get captured by this Spiral character and set up into horrible traps and end up getting killed in horrible ways. And Zeke is the one who's put in charge of the investigation and tries to figure out who is doing the killing. And climax of the movie involves him trying to save his father from Spiral. And that's basically the movie. It's a lot of disgusting traps and people dying in horrible ways. And
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I'd say the only thing that you left out that is very prominent to the story is that what we know about Chris Rock's character Zeke is that something like 12 years ago, he turned in his partner who killed a guy.
Yes.
Like in cold blood, purposely killed him.
Yeah.
And then since then, it's been 12 years of like the other cops calling him a rat and treating him horribly and stuff like that. So he's definitely a character that has a giant chip on his shoulder, but it's warranted, I feel.
Yeah.
So
that's true. Great pickup there. So, but that's the story in a nutshell. And I'm interested in your thoughts, Todd.
have you seen the other Saw movies?
I have not seen any Saw
You've
movies.
never seen any Saw movies?
No.
What an interesting experience.
Yes.
I will say for a person who's not totally into horror or gore or anything like that, I've seen all the Saw movies and I liked most of them. Like, especially the first one. Like the first one was pretty revolutionary, I think, and really scared the crap out of me.
Gotcha.
So this movie is. I'm happy this movie was made, and I like that it's a Saw adjacent movie. Like, there was something like 9 Saw movies, I think, or something like that before they moved into this one. And the last couple of Saw movies really were dragging because they were just trying too hard to connect it back to Jigsaw and all that kind of stuff, even though well, I'm not going to ruin it, but he's not around for the last couple of movies.
Gotcha.
And so I like the idea of like this Saw adjacent movie, and it feels a little different than a regular Saw movie. To me, this is almost like a friend of mine, Tim, who we talked about the movie, I think said it best. This is like almost like a cop procedural movie that just has elements of Saw and gore and stuff like that.
Yeah, see that.
In the sense that like you have this main character who is a good cop and he's a good man, and being good has kind of screwed up his life. Like he doesn't have anyone, his marriage is falling apart, all this kind of stuff. And it's all about, and for specifically this time in the world, even though this movie was supposed to come out a while ago, it's definitely centered around a corrupt, bad police system.
Yeah.
So pretty topical, if you ask me. So I think there's some good things going for this movie. I think the acting was pretty pretty good, and Chris Rock I think did a pretty good job. Even though there's one part in the movie where he's undercover, like the very first scene of the movie is him undercover trying to do some stuff, and he puts a mask on, and like he's robbing people. And to me, Chris Rock has such a distinctive voice that I just don't think anyone could get away with it. I mean, he's not trying to get away with it, but in general, I'm like, your voice is so distinctive.
Right.
So anyway, this movie, I almost feel like this movie doesn't try too hard like the other Saw, like the back half of the Saw movies, which I think has a good thing going for it. It's not trying so hard to make the twisty turns like the focus of the movie. They're there, and there's certainly plenty of them, but they're not the true focus. The true focus is a corrupt police precinct, which is kind of like I've been saying, a breath of fresh air to this franchise.
Cool.
So those are really great things going for it. I have one really glaring problem with this movie that I can't go into so much because it will definitely ruin the movie. And we've already talked about it, but they chose, like for me, and I don't know if it's because I've seen the Saw movies and I like guessing the ending or whatever, but they did something midway through the movie that ruined the ending for me. Like, as soon as they did this thing in the movie, I knew who the person was, and I knew why they were doing it. Like, and like, I'm not saying that to like toot my own horn, but it did take me out of the movie a little bit. Like, so that was disappointing in my mind, but I still say, even though that happened for me specifically, it's still, I would say, if you like the Saw movies, go see this movie. If you like suspense with the horror twists and the gore stuff going on, but then also like twisty turns and stuff like that, this movie's right up your alley. One of the best things it has going for it is that it's really short. It's like an hour and 20 minutes, which I think is like one of the perfect times for a movie like this. Like, shorter the better for movies like this for me. So there's not like, I didn't find much downtime during the movie to just like sit around and check my watch or my phone or anything like that to see what time it was, which is always a good thing. So yeah, I think I would give this a go ahead, go see if this is the movie genre that you like and you're interested in it. Obviously, if you don't like these type of movies, then I'd stay pretty far away from it, because it is definitely gory and it's definitely graphic. And if that's not you, then, skip this one. Certainly don't take the family to go see this. So, yeah. In summary, one bad mistake didn't completely ruin the movie for me, but it did take me out of it a little. Otherwise, I think it's got some pretty good acting, some strong plots, I think, many different moving parts that are engaging. It's certainly not the best Saw movie in the Saw universe, but it's still, I would say it's probably better than at least half of them, which for a 9-movie franchise is saying something. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. Matt, as someone who's never seen a Saw movie, how did you feel about this movie?
Well, I will say that I agree about the acting was decent, especially Chris Rock, and Samuel L. Jackson always does a good job. I will say the story had some good elements of suspense and wondering what's going to happen or how it's going to turn out. But I am not a huge fan of just straight up disgusting activities on the screen. Like basically torture type scenes.
And there's plenty of it in this movie.
There is.
So you should not go see the other Saw movies. Except for maybe the first one.
So, yeah, I mean, those scenes did not allow me to enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
They were so graphic and so gory and so disgusting. And I would consider myself a fan of horror movies, but not this subgenre of like torture gore fest.
I would definitely say it falls under the category of what people call torture porn.
Yes.
People who are into discussing things really love these movies.
Yeah. So give me a crazy Jason Voorhees, stabbing someone quickly with a machete through their back. That's fine. But but there's a difference between that and showing the machete going through and flaps of skin folding
slowly
up
going through.
Yeah, exactly. There's some differences there. I like the shock value of like, oh my gosh, that just happened. I don't like here's an extremely detailed and medically correct description of, someone getting their fingers ripped off, for example.
Oh, yeah. There is a guy who gets skinned in this movie.
Yeah.
And as that was going on, I was like, I could do without that.
Yeah. So all that to say, if you have any kind of squeamishness or any problem with gore, really don't go to this movie. It's difficult to watch at times.
Definitely.
And, there are some good parts of it, but for me, really overshadowed by those kind of torture scenes. And I did not enjoy and do not recommend seeing this movie. from my perspective.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a tough one because I'm not even like you where I don't like horror is just not my thing. Like I have fond memories of watching all the Friday the 13th movies with you and other people, and I will do that. I will see. I mean, I will see any Friday the 13th movie that comes out. It just seems like that's a given for our friendship right now. But,
Yes.
But yeah, I'm with you on the torture porn stuff, but there's just something so elaborate about these movies that is like, I'm not saying I love it, but I'm like, man, the time and energy it took to create these traps and stuff like that, I gotta give a little respect where respect's due. These killers are hard at work, so.
Fair enough.
All right, Matt. Also, one thing I'll say this about the movie, and this definitely became true as the Saw movies progressed, is like, to me, the first couple of Saw movies had traps that, while sucked, if you committed, you could get out of them. Mm-hmm. And there were not many in this movie where I was like, this seems like a bad trade-off. Like, right. The worst one being either you're going to suffocate it and die, or you use the knife behind you to sever your spinal cord so that you'll be paralyzed from the neck down. Right. And I'm like, well, that doesn't fit. Like, right. So, yeah, I think like if they're going to continue these franchises, I think they need to really put some effort into getting back the traps that are escapable. Mm-hmm. So, all right, Matt. How many pig puppets would you give this movie? Mm-hmm. There's a what do you call them? A marionette?
A marionette,
yeah,
yes.
A marionette pig puppet that's prominently used in the movie.
Yes.
That was hilarious every time I looked at it, and I could not take it seriously. So, obviously, 5 marionette pig puppets are the best. 0. Right. Well, no one's having fun if it's 0.
Right.
If you got 0 pig
puppets.
No
pig puppets.
Yeah.
Pig marionettes. Well, I will say that there's a heavy theme of pigs and pig masks and pig puppets and pig marionettes in this movie, and I think it's tied to the fact that police people are getting killed, and that old "the pigs are here"
True,
type.
But the pig existed before this movie.
Okay. Wow.
So it's like there were times where the pig mask was used in the other movies.
I see.
Not discrediting what you're saying, but it's not specific to this movie.
You have the backstory and I don't.
So yeah. No, the pig thing is never explained. So I can't actually explain to you why the Jigsaw killer used a marionette puppet that wasn't a pig, just with like a weird white face with the spirals on the cheeks and stuff like that you see in this movie. Gotcha. It's like a weird thing like that. Okay. But, so he did use a puppet. There are definitely callbacks, but there is no explanation to the pig face stuff that's used all throughout this movie and some of the other movies.
Fair enough. Wow. My rating is going to be 1.1 pig marionettes out of 5.
Not for you.
So, yeah. It wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen, but it wasn't good for me at all.
Yeah.
So
there was no, inappropriate sex scenes that were interrupted by the killer, which is what you prefer.
I prefer inappropriate sex scenes interrupted by killers.
All right. I think I'm gonna be at. Like, I think, honestly, if they didn't do the thing that they did that really took me out of the movie, I might be over 3, just barely, but I'm down to a 2.6, I think. Mm-hmm. It wasn't horrible. It had the ability to be pretty good, but for me personally, as a person who's seen all the Saw movies and a person who, once you see the first Saw movie, the rest of the Saw movies, all you're doing is trying to figure out what the surprise is. Like any other thriller, based movie chain or whatever. And, yeah, I mean, I just really thought they they showed their hand like halfway through the movie, and I was not happy with that. So that's going to bring it down to a 2.6 for me.
There you go.
If these movies are yours, or you like the Saw movies, or you like torture porn, or you like any of those above, then strongly recommend seeing this movie. If you prefer Jason Voorhees, just a quick stab and a quick death, probably not for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to really like gore to go see this and enjoy it. So,
What does that say about me, though?
you really like gore.
I guess.
No.
I don't like gore in any other franchise, though. Like, I don't like... It's just these movies that I've allowed myself to just watch. I don't want... I don't know.
That's how you feel.
Maybe I'm a horrible human being.
Well, maybe you are. Maybe you just like gore. It's okay.
I don't know. I'm not okay with either of those options.
Oh, okay. Well,
I need to do some real soul searching here.
well, you work on that.
Yeah.
And
let me just extend this podcast more, and we could really delve deep into why I am the way I am.
we could do that, but let's save some for another podcast.
Fair enough.
We can make it a recurring segment. Delve deep into why Todd's a horrible person.
Yeah.
Or is he?
Yeah. Tell us on the Facebook group. How do you feel about Todd?
Well, so we saw Spiral from the Book of Saw, and we rated it an average rating of 1.85, which isn't very good.
Yeah.
But certain people might like this movie. I wasn't one of them, but Todd was. So
Unfortunately.
So yeah, but that's going to wrap up this episode. Thank you all listeners for listening to our podcast. We will keep making these, and you can keep enjoying them or you can keep hating them, but either way, make sure you keep listening.
And you can keep questioning whether or not I'm a good person or not.
Also true.
Da 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 da
Da da
da da da.
da da da.